neither of them are jumping for joy. And the more that they can kind of constrain him, as they themselves were constrained when they took office, you can drink from the same cup we've drunk from, Mr. Burnham. There's a bit of that about as well.
Let's speak now to Will Hutton, economist, author, commentator, good Labour contacts. Will, thanks for joining us again. What do you make of these poison pills being left in Whitehall by the outgoing Starmer administration for Andy Burnham? To me, it doesn't suggest a very amicable handover.
What an introduction, Andrew. You do it well, I have to say. And one day, I'm sure I'll come on the show and you'll be upbeat about something. But it's you're right. I mean,
I'm upbeat about having you on the show.
Where do I begin? The Defence Investment Plan. The numbers are as you've described. I do think that, Al Khan's, who may yet raise his standard as a candidate against Andy Burnham, I think he probably won't, but I know he's musing on it. He said everywhere he looked when he was doing his job as a junior minister in the Ministry of Defence, everywhere you looked, there was the scope for kind of huge savings, and it's become a kind of the misspecification of weapons systems, the cost overruns and all the rest of it have become something of a legend. So 10 billion may be a big call by 29-30, but some number is, I think, feasible, maybe nearer 5 than 10. The second point to make, I think, is that contemporary warfare is about kind of not so much having a kind of stock of frigates, destroyers, tanks, and all the rest of it, often built to specifications that are 5, 10, 15 years old, but actually having the kind of productive capacity to build kind of state-of-the-art autonomous vehicles, state-of-the-art drones. That's what the Ukrainians have taught us in their fight against Ukraine. So more important, maybe, than actually these sums of money is actually building up the industrial capacity to build these systems within the UK. So it becomes not so much a kind of where's the money coming from story, but actually can you build the industrial capacity? Thirdly, I've argued this before on Times Radio, in fact, with you. I just don't understand why we don't develop the notion of war bonds. Hardly the retail buyers in the jargon for government securities are minimal in Britain. It's largely kind of they're largely bought by institutions. Let's open the market up to kind of retail investors, the British middle classes who funded, both the First and Second World War. Let's get them to buy war bonds. Let's offer them. We could sell them at an attractive rate of interest, lower than the norm, if we were to say to them, give them some inducement, like you can pass these bonds on to your kids free of inheritance tax. And I'm sure that you could sell £3 to £5 billion worth of such bonds every year in a sustainable way, and that would go some way to closing the gaps that you've described. So that's where
indeed.
Then
can I just put that? Can I stick to the war bonds, because you're right. You and I have talked about this before, but didn't you find it interesting that both Starmer and Reeves have gone out of their way this week to knock down the idea of war bonds? Both of them, in their speeches, came out against it.
Yeah, I know.
What do you make of that?
I disagree with it. Disagree it profoundly.
I know that, but why do you think they're doing it? Do they think Andy Burnham might go down that route and they want to kind of cut it off?
I think they have. I think they've drunk the Kool-Aid, the Treasury Kool-Aid. They think it's Will Hutton and Andrew Neil may talk about war bonds, but come on, guys, it's public debt, and actually the appetite of the markets for public debt is kind of minimal, and adding to the stock of it could trigger a run on British government debt. That's not. But I think the markets are smarter than that. If they know damn well that retail investors do not buy British government debt, here's a way of opening up the market, and it's a discrete addition to the market that would work rather well and actually take some pressure off government borrowing. I just think that it's this the Treasury is sometimes right on things, but sometimes wrong on things. And this one, I think it's completely wrong. Secondly, I think I think both of them. I mean, they'd only be human, um, not. I mean, Burnham's quiet coup has been quite ruthless, and Starmer's resigning after 2 years. Reeves will be demoted if she's used at all. It's the end of their political careers. You can hardly. Then neither of them are jumping for joy, and the more that they can kind of constrain him, as they themselves were constrained when they took office, they're gonna. You can drink from the same cup we've drunk from, Mr. Burnham. There's a bit of that about as well.
Let me ask you this on the wider matter of Andy Burnham coming into power. If there's not a contest, it'll be within 3 weeks. Do you, because you speak to lots of people, and I'm sure that some of them are close to Burnham or talk to him too, do you yet have any inkling of what his economic policy might look like?
I've got some inklings. I mean, I do think that he does understand that Manchester, which interestingly enough is has got a lot of tech scale-ups, about over nearly 30 actually, with and that's been self-consciously built up over the last 25 years by Andy Burnham's forebearers, really. I mean, Howard Bernstein was chief executive of Manchester City Council, Richard Lees was leader of the council, and then a former incarnation. I advised them actually on trying to build up Manchester as a knowledge city. And he does understand that actually the innovation economy, tech scale-ups, tech founders are very kind of fundamental to any kind of growth story, just as they have been in Manchester. And I think that whoever he appoints to DSIT, which may be kind of given more power, that's the Department of Science, Innovation and Technology, maybe given more power and even enlarged, possibly handed to Wes Streeting, that to be going to get on with it, going to really grow this innovation economy and make and integrate that with the devolution story, so that we top down are kind of trying to promote innovation through tax breaks, giving the British Business Bank more money or whatever it may be, and bottom up there'll be mayors who are anxious to reproduce what happened in Manchester. That's part, I think, of his thinking about growth. And I don't think it's stupid, by the way. I think people like Jim O'Neill or Andrew Haldane, former chief economist of the Bank of England, Jim O'Neill, who was advisor, I think, to Manchester City Council, they would endorse that. Whether you're going to get the growth you need with the timescale it's required politically is an open question. But I don't think it's a stupid way to approach economic growth.
No, I understand that. And of course, in many ways, Britain is, in European standards, pretty strong on that technology and startups and venture capital and so on.
Very,
so we shall see. We shall see if he can build on that, because he's got something to build on. We've got to leave it for now, but I hope to be talking to you again soon.
I've got more to say about the investment plan and more to say about how you squared the circle in your really provocative.
I know. We've got lots more to say, but we'll have to have you back. Will Hutton, thanks for being on the show.